Welcome to the Enduro V3 review video. Full disclosure, I didn't buy any of these kites. I took the opportunity from Ozone to review the Enduro after I had quite a number of people asking me what I thought of the new version and just what I thought of the Enduro in general and how it stacks up against the Amp and other kites in the Ozone range. I'm going to do my best in this review to test the Enduro in a variety of conditions. And that's including some stuff I wouldn't usually bother using a kite like the Enduro 4, which is Freestyle or Planq, but I'm going to test it out anyway so I can give you my opinion on how the Enduro works for those disciplines too. So with the Enduro V3 they give you some different options on the leading edge to change the feel of the kite. There's a Freestyle, Freeride and Wave foil setting. Generally, I don't like messing with these settings too much. I'll just find the one that gives me the feel that I like, and then I will leave it like that. These settings aren't changing the kite to be a wave kite or a foil kite or a freeride kite or whatever else you think it wants to be. It's just changing the handling of the kite. It's just changing the angle of attack. So if you're a heavier rider or a lighter rider, or you have longer lines or shorter lines, one of these settings you might prefer and the rest might not feel that good. So I suggest just playing with those settings and then choosing the one you like and sticking with it. Same goes for the turning speed settings on the trailing edge of the kite. In general, I usually just find the one that I like the most, I like the feeling of and how it turns, and then I just stick with that. I don't change it from session to session because I really think it's best to pick the one that you feel and you understand how it flies and then just get used to it, because really kiteboarding is just about replicating what you're doing on the water. If you want to progress, you need to practice over and over again, so choosing what you're used to and sticking to it I think is the best solution. My favourite use for the Enduro is probably foiling. The lightweight aspect of the Enduro lets it drift downwind quite easily, yet the three struts still let you drive it into the wind a bit harder than what you could on a one strut or a no strut kite. So I think if you're doing a bit of freestyle, freeride foiling where you want to get maybe a bit more powered or aggressive with the kite, maybe try to do around the world, you know, just messing around with the kite, I think the Enduro is a really great foil kite. I think the Enduro also works really well as a wave kite or a strapless freestyle type kite. Same thing again as foil. Having that lightweight frame lets it drift down the line if you're wave riding, and those three struts if you want to jump or you want to loop or do whatever else with the kite just gives it some form of rigidity that a single strut or a no strut kite won't give you. I do find the Enduro slightly better hooked in for waves than the Amp, which is what I do ride a lot on 5-line in the waves. It's just an easier easier feeling kite, like a smoother feeling kite for someone who is riding hooked in a lot in the waves. If you were to unhook, I do still think that the amp has the edge. In fifth line setup, the amp is a lot more stable and you can really drive it into the wind unhooked in the waves. I know that's a pretty niche kind of thing, but yeah, for me that's important, and I don't think the Enduro would replace the amp for unhooked wave riding for me. I took the 12 meter because I figured if any size is going to be, you know, similar feeling for me than an amp, it will be a bigger size of the Enduro. I took it on a small bar and 25 meter lines just because that's what I usually ride on the amp, and I wanted to kind of back to back and check how the feeling differed from the amp. And surprisingly to me, the 12 meter Enduro was a lot slower kite than a 13 meter amp. I know that might sound quite strange because most people know the Enduro as a very fast kite, and I myself thought the Enduro was probably the quickest kite in the Ozone range. Funnily enough though, the 12 meter or the bigger sizes actually feel slower. I think why the 12 meter Enduro felt slower than the amp is because it's a bridle kite. When you get a bigger bridle kite, they are just naturally slower. Direct connection of the amp and 5 line really speeds up bigger sizes. So using a 38 centimeter bar or even smaller with 13 meter amp or 11 meter amp, in my opinion, is totally fine, and I really like that turning speed. But using the 38 or smaller on the 12 meter Enduro, to me, just actually didn't feel very good. I wouldn't recommend doing that. And if I flew that kite again, I'd maybe use a 38, but for a general use for everyone else, I would probably recommend the 45 centimeter bar. If I was really trying to push my level and get to the next step, I don't think it would be that easy on the Enduro to do that. I think a kite like the amp really helps you excel when you're trying to push that very top level. I could use it. I think that any good rider can use a kite like the Enduro or a bridle kite in general for unhooked freestyle or park or whatever else you're doing unhooked. But there's always that I don't know, there's a bit of something that's just missing that a kite like an Amp, for example, has over the Enduro. And even if you're a beginner, I think that a kite like the Amp just makes those things easier. For me, the Enduro is a really great all-round freeride kite. I really enjoy foiling with it. I enjoy foiling with it more than I would with an Amp. I probably enjoy freeriding hooked in on a surfboard with it more than I would on the Amp. I don't think it's a replacement for me for the Amp, but depending upon what disciplines you're primarily doing, the Enduro could well be the best choice for you. I guess the question you're probably wondering is, should I buy it? And I can't make that decision for you. You really have to look at what you're doing, what your primary focus is on the water. For example, if you're someone that really enjoys freeriding, you ride a surfboard, you do some foiling, you do a little bit of jumping and stuff hooked in, then the Enduro is probably your best choice. If you're someone that really wants to push unhooked riding, then I wouldn't choose the Enduro, I'd choose a kite like the Amp. And if you're someone that maybe does foiling more than you do strapless freestyle or any other freestyle, then I would probably lean towards the Alpha or the Hyperlink. So it's really a case-by-case basis. You need to decide what you want to do and what you see yourself doing in the future, and then choose the kite that best fits you.